Shalom, Jeremiah Yakov. Before we start off, I want to give praises to the Father and the Son. Barakatah Yehovah, Barakatah Yehoshua, Barakatah Yehovah, Barakatah Yehoshua, Barakatah Yehovah, Bahashem, Yehoshua, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Yehovah is who the people ignorantly call God, and Yehoshua is who the people ignorantly call Jesus. You so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native Americans, you are the Hebrew Israelites. This article says French hospitals told to prepare for war in Europe by next year in leaked government letter. The country's health ministry has instructed hospitals to prepare for a major military engagement by March 2026. It says the newspaper warned that between 10,000 and 50,000 men could be expected in hospitals over a period of 10 to 180 days. If you scroll down a little bit more, it's basically telling the people that they should prepare and have food, batteries, stuff like that. So, ultimately, France and these European NATO nations know what's up, man. Even though they're low key under the radar, warring with Russia right now, man. Man, soon it's going to be made known to the public. They're going to be openly at war with Russia, man. They ain't just going to be sending mercenaries in Ukraine like how they doing now, man. Eventually, a lot of these NATO countries, these European countries, are going to, fight Russia, man. And it's an inevitable clash. Because, this third world, which is World War III, is prophecy, man. If we scroll back up, it said warrant that between 10,000 and 50,000 men. Okay, where do you think they're going to be getting these men from, man? These military drafts, man. Now we finna, bring out some precepts. Because, the scriptures is undefeated, man. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. That second woe that is past was talking about World War II. It says the third woe cometh quickly. That third woe is, World War III. And I believe, we're in the midst of this third woe right now, man. And you look into the word woe, woe means destruction. And, look at all the destruction that, World War II caused. Eventually, a nuke got used in World War II, man. That was pre-shadowing and precursoring the mini nukes that's going to be used in this third war, man. And with war, you have to have troops, man. Now let's get into this. Second Esdras 16:33-34. The virgins having no bridegrooms. Slakia. The virgins shall mourn having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn having no helpers. Verse 34. In the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine, man. So, military drafts is going to be the new norm in a lot of these NATO countries, and the U.S. You look at, they already got drafts going on in Ukraine, forceful drafts. I'm pretty sure y'all seen the many different videos of the Ukrainian recruiters forcefully, dragging young men to the battlefield, to the front. And it's getting to the point where now that, I saw this article a couple days ago, said that, over 1 million Ukrainian men have died in the war in Ukraine, man. So just put this in perspective, y'all. If over 1 million Ukrainian men have died, and that's just Russia versus Ukraine, imagine how much more those casualties are going to be if it's full-blown war going on in Europe. On top of that, you got Israel-Iran going on. On top of that, eventually, man, you got war breaking out in the Asiatic countries, China, Taiwan, Japan, all them different countries, North Korea, man. It's gonna be bodies dropping left and right, literally, man. And also, with this third war, it causes, destruction of cities, Look at Ukraine, for example. You got cities on cities that have been reduced to bricks. Man, so this third war is, ramping up and shifting into another gear. You remember a couple weeks ago, you had Putin and Trump at a supposedly peace summit in Alaska, trying to stop this war. And if you've been looking at it, man, ever since that peace summit, it seems like, the Russia-Ukraine war has been, ramping up. You got Ukraine talking about they just produced a new missile called the Flamingo missile. You got Russia still, bombing, shooting missiles at throughout Ukraine and their capital. So this war, is only ramping up, and that's just in the Ukraine and Russia theater. That's not talking about all these other different things that's going on. You still got Israel, Iran, still going at it. I believe, man, that Israel, Iran they just taking a pause. Then on top of that, you got China. So, all these things are going on, man. It's like the perfect recipe for disaster. Verse 37. Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. And these plagues are not just in one country. They're around the whole world, man. You got a lot of stuff going on. Verse 38. And when a woman with child in the ninth month bringeth forth her son, within 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side, man. You got to keep in mind, this time period that we are in, this generation of people that's on the earth right now, man, are going to experience the worst time period ever on the face of the earth, man. And as time going on, it's so much stuff going on. It's like you got the war tensions increasing. You got the Lord, causing more so-called natural disasters, which are really plagues and massive judgments. You got, everything happening, man. We got another article before we head out. Xi, Putin, and Kim stand united at Beijing military parade in historic show of strength. Yeah, man, these different nations are aligning and, challenging Mystery Babylon, which is America's, global strength, their global superiority. And, back then in the 60s, 70s, 80s, a lot of these countries which would fear Mystery Babylon America, but now they're standing up to Mystery Babylon America because they can see that this place's power, its authority, is waxing weaker and weaker, man. There's America's days of golden days, its golden ages are behind it, man. It's in its waning times, it's in its waning and its weakening years, man. And that's spiritual. Because, ever since the truth came out, 1969, and from the gospel being preached, this place has been getting, weaker, man. And it's all through the will of the Lord. And that shows that, preaching His truth, preaching His gospel, prophesying against these heathens and against Mystery Babylon holds power, man. You know? When you still in another thing, you got the U.S. has all them ships and troops, off Venezuela's coast. We still waiting to see what that will turn into. So you have the BRICS nations, standing up and challenging Mystery Babylon. Not only right now is financially, man, but soon it's gonna be militarily, man. The pursuing of that Ezekiel 38. And, we're seeing these nations come together. With that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Hope this lesson was edifying through spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All praises unto Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Until next time, Shalom, Yashalom.